Are you getting frustrated at work? Maybe you're looking after a team or an organisation and struggling to get the growth that you're really looking for. Or maybe to get a job at all. There's a big reason why people are getting frustrated, and it's because there's a massive revolution taking place. The system has changed completely. It used to be okay to do what you were told, to wait to get picked for that promotion, to work really hard, and if you did these things, and if you followed the company line and did what you were told and what was expected of you, then generally you get promoted and get paid well for it. But it's not enough anymore. So why is this the case? Well, really, we've got to go right back to 1870, when the first free education system was put into place. It was a time when the Industrial Revolution was in full swing and factories were popping up everywhere. But the trouble was, there just weren't enough people to fill the factories. So it was decided that education was going to be given to everyone. That after completing your education, you'd be able to get a job. So the schools produced compliant, capable workers that had a strong work ethic and that went straight into the factories and did extremely well. The factories were set up so that they could take big jobs and split them up into hundreds of small tasks and train those individuals up to carry out those simple tasks extremely effectively. And in 1913, this was epitomised by Henry Ford, who created the first assembly line. He was able to transform not just the car industry, but industry as a whole. And through enabling people to become extremely efficient at their jobs, he was able to make cars affordable to the masses and opened up an entire new market. And his workers got extremely well paid for it too. They were paid $5 a day, which was twice the average wage at the time. And it gave them a secure, financial, stable environment for them and their families to live in. And it's worked well for 100 years, where people have depended on their jobs to give them that financial security. And it even moved into the office environment, where we're told by our boss what it is that we're expected to do, and by doing what we're told, by being loyal to the company, every couple of years we'll get promoted. And we'll get the financial security that comes with that, and the ability to buy cars and homes to support that life. But it's not working anymore. The entire system is broken. Nowadays, we need people to stand up, to come up with new ideas, to be creative, to be curious, to look for better ways of doing things. If you're an organisation that's just looking at being the cheapest and trying to race to the bottom, so you're the lowest price in the market, then there's a risk that you might win. Because once you hit the bottom, there's nowhere else to go. There's always going to be someone else that can do your job for less money, that will work harder, more hours, and that will be in a position to take your job. They may not even live in the same country. If your job can be done by someone else just by giving them a manual and training them how to carry out the tasks that you do, if there's someone else that can do that job, then you're replaceable. And if you're replaceable, you don't have that safe job anymore. So because there are less and less secure jobs, people are finding that their jobs are under pressure, and it's creating stress. But there is a way out. We just haven't been trained to think in a creative, diverse, humane environment. And even if we are one of these people that's able to work in this way, we're not encouraged to do that. And that's one of the main challenges that we're facing now. School, education, universities, while there are certain roles that you certainly have to be compliant and do what you're told and follow strict rules. If I'm being operated on by a doctor, I certainly want them to be following the rules and following how they've been taught. I don't want them trying out new ways of taking my appendix. But for a lot of us, that creativity has been squashed. There's a famous Hallmark senior executive called Gordon Mackenzie who goes around schools teaching them how to be creative. He goes to kindergarten and he asks them, who here is creative? And then nearly the entire class will put their hand up and they'll be excited to talk about how they're artistic and creative. He'll then go to the next year, to year one, and ask the same question. Who here is an artist? This time, about half the class put their hands up. And then in year two, about half as much again. Only 25% of their class put their hands up. And this trend continues through the class until year 5 and 6, when only 1 or 2 children will put their hands up to say that they're an artist. And even then, the rest of the class are looking at them, wondering what it's all about. And it's not a coincidence that this creativity, this curiosity has been squeezed out, because we've been trained to follow the maths, the English, the science part. because that academic route has been what's been so well supported by the school system and by organisations and factories and offices, and has created financial security for those that have abilities in that area. But we're all creative. We all started off creatively and curious with a curious nature, and we're all different. We need to bring back that human side, because that's what counts now. The human side to management. Understanding what people are going through, understanding what the customer needs. This is the future. This is where those that are being successful understand the importance of connection. If we look at the great leaders of our time, they're generally outstanding at a couple of key things, and they play to those strengths. And this is the other point, that school really teaches us to focus on our weaknesses. If we're good at a couple of things, we're not really encouraged to develop those to greatness. We're encouraged to look at what we're not good at and improve that. But if you could be outstanding at 1 or 2 or even 3 key leadership areas, there's a lot of research that shows that you're far more likely to be successful than if you're just okay at a range of leadership skills. You're more likely to get a job if you stand out in a couple of key areas. And if you don't stand out, you're less likely to get noticed and statistically less likely to get chosen for that job, to get chosen for that promotion. It's time now to stand up. Don't wait to be picked. It's a cultural conditioning that we've also had since school, where we wait to be picked, we wait to be chosen, we wait for someone to tell us when we're ready, we wait for someone to promote us into the next role. Well, those times have gone now. It's now time for us to stand up. It's time to pick yourself. Yes, there are uncertain times. No, there aren't any safe jobs and safe industries anymore. But on the upside, there are huge opportunities for people and for teams that want to enable their staff to be creative, to be curious, to embrace diversity, and see the value in humanity. And by focusing on your strengths, you can avoid the race to the bottom and win the race to the top.